What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. We are diving into another bullet point for the upcoming Scream 5 spoilers. Now, again, this is a spoiler video, so if you want to click away, I completely understand. I'd appreciate you hitting the like button before you go. Helps out the channel, gets this out to people that don't mind spoilers, and I truly appreciate it. If you're somebody that's just coming in and haven't seen any of these other videos, I'm going over the various points of the spoilers that were leaked for the Scream 5 film. I made a video, I'll link it down in the description below, on all of the spoilers, but per request by many of you, you wanted me to go over the various topic points and give my opinion and have an overall discussion, so make sure you join it down in the comments below. If you're still here, hit that like button, helps me out a lot, lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button, follow up with the bell notification so you never miss an upload, stay up to date with all things Scream, join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. So 3, 2, 1, okay, let's get into these spoilers. Alright, so I'll read the point and then we will jump into it and have our discussion per usual. So let's get right into it. It's a soft reboot in that Scream 1 through 4 are canon, and that this uses connective tissue to establish a new storyline, to move the franchise forward. The future of the franchise very much belongs to the new cast by the end, and it feels like a new beginning. The transition is handled with care and honors the franchise's legacy. So it's basically what's been stated since the beginning, that this is in many ways its own standalone Scream. Like, they wanted to make it, and even the producers themselves have said that they wanted to make a film that if you never saw the past films, you could still see and enjoy. Yet, if you have watched the past films, you'll understand more significantly certain key points throughout the film. There'll be many Easter eggs and references. And as we have seen, if you've been following along through these spoilers, then you know that there is a lot of ties and connections to the past films already embedded in this new film. So that is on par with what we know as far as the film goes. Now, it's even Courtney said herself that this is Scream. It's not a remake, it's not a reboot, it's not anything other than Scream. It's almost like a reimagining of the classic in many ways. And so even some of these plot points and discussions that we are having, a lot of them are very reminiscent and very mirroring the 96 original. You know, not necessarily a like for like, but very much so a near identical. And that could be a good thing, but it could also be a bad thing. I think it just comes down to execution and how they go about that. How do they structure these scenes to make them unique and different to a classic audience? You know, people like myself, people like most of you that are watching this, but still keep it reminiscent of the past. And where if somebody sees this for the first time, they're thinking like, oh, this is really unique, and then they go watch Scream 1 1996 and they're like, wow, that was very similar, and they see the sort of connections and they see these sort of references. And I've said from the beginning, even before all these spoilers came out, even before we started having these discussions, that they have to tie in the past films, simply because there are, especially Scream 4, so many points that were left unknown. In many ways, Scream 4 ended in a bit of a cliffhanger. Not in the classical sense of, you know, a killer got away or somebody's death was left a mystery, but in the sense of, like, we don't know what happened after that event. Like, the last thing we saw were the reporters covering Jill as the hero and how her life was going to change, and how she is the sole survivor and the star of this, you know, Reboot Massacre is how they put it. You know, the reboot, the Woodsboro horrors, you know, and so we need a conclusion to that story, and I hope that they don't just brush over it. I hope they don't just say, you know, let them guess however they feel about it and just continue the story. I mean, obviously they're going to have the opening scene, and then hopefully after that we get a sort of conclusion or wrap up. It doesn't even have to be much. It could just be a in passing sort of discussion with Dewey and Gale, even, where you just have them sort of touch on, like, like, this is crazy, this is reminiscent of Jill, and we saw what happened after that, and how we had to explain what really happened, something along those lines would be very creative, very interesting, and it's something that we need. So I very much believe that the 4 films leading up to this 5th installment are going to play major roles in this film to some capacity. Obviously, 96 is the most significant one, as you know by the main twist of this film, that it is a direct tie to 96 in more ways than one. So overall, 96 is going to play a significantly huge role. We know Stu Macher's house is supposed to be in this film. And that's not even a spoiler. I mean, that's public information. So that, again, 96. There's so many references, and we're really starting to see the pieces fall into place for the connection between Scream 5 and 96. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes forward. Now, the next thing is that this says that it very much transitions to the newer generation, the new group. And as we know, Sam evolves into the final girl throughout this journey of a film. It starts off and appears to be Tara. Whether Tara lives or dies at some point in this film, that we don't know for sure. We know that she's the opening scene attack, and she does survive that. We know that. But we don't know if maybe she's Ghostface, if she's, meets the Ghostface's blade at the end at some point. We just know that eventually there's a point where everything shifts to Sam, and she carries on the legacy as the final girl. As the spoilers that we covered recently said, that there is a moment where Sydney makes a decision on whether to save Sam or not. And it's a very conflicting one, because she has to decide and risk her own life in order to save her, and foils Ghostface's plan, and thus they have to sort of re-improvise. And you have that passing of the torch moment in this film as well. So this ties into that as well, that you get this pivot into the newer generations. Now, whether the OG3, however their story ends in this film, we don't have a definitive answer to that. I've said that I think at least one of them dies, which is very likely. I don't think they kill all 3. I don't think Sydney would die in this film, but it's the conclusion of them nonetheless. So whether they die or not, this will be the sort of end to that generation, and then transitions into this newer generation, and then that will carry this film going forward into Scream 6 and Scream 7, so on. So I think it's a really interesting transition, and it comes down to character development, having them be believable, having them be connectable, have us buy in to these characters. So they really need to establish these characters, I think, from the jump. At least the characters that you plan on continuing this legacy with. So Sam, most definitely, because she is the final girl in this film. Whether it's Tara or another girl, I've said, I think we will get a new generation OG3. So it's very likely we'll get Sam as like the new Sydney. And then we'll get one of the other girls, whoever it may be. You decide, let me know down in the comments who you would like to see be that other girl. But very likely we're going to get another girl that's going to survive, and then we'll get one of the guys. Same thing, let me know down in the comments which guy would you like to see survive. So you're going to have that group, that core that are going to carry on throughout this trilogy that we're supposed to get. So if that's the case, you need to establish those characters from the jump. And that's something that you can look out for when we see the actual film. Which characters are they sort of honing in on the most and really building up their story? Because it's very likely that those ones are going to be the ones to survive. And so it makes sense that you get Tara, Sam, and then whoever the guy is. But we don't know for sure which characters outside of Sam will survive this film. We just know that Sam is the survivor. And this also kind of ties into some, not spoilers, but it was public information of a post telling everyone thank you, that was posted by Melissa, and I can't remember who else it was. Maybe it was Jack. But they made this like thank you to the cast and crew and everything, and it really made people think, wait a minute, does that mean that Melissa's character survives and Jack's character survives? If that's the case, that would kind of tie into this film, because if you can take that connection and put it into Sam's character played by Melissa, then it's clear that maybe that was a significant piece of evidence indirectly. It wasn't supposed to be, but it very well could have been. Granted, it could have just been a simple like, hey, thanks to everybody, but that information that was in it, I actually have the video here on this channel as well, diving into that. I'll link it down in the description. But nonetheless, it'll be nice to see this transition and this pivot, because it has to happen sooner or later. I've said this on several occasions. Sooner or later, you have to move off and transition and go in another direction outside of the OG3, and it's clear that this film is going to begin that process. You know, whether one or all, but it appears that this is the end for the OG3. Now, it does say they do a really great job honoring Scream and the sort of legacy. Now, this is something that I've addressed in past videos, not in a spoiler video or anything like that, just in a video in general, because I always get people that are like, oh, you can't do this or you can't do that because it's against Wes's legacy. And they aren't Wes. They're going to make their film. Wes's legacy is Scream itself. It's not a particular character. It's not a particular moment. It's not a particular whatever. It is the overall franchise and the quality of film that Scream was. It was the way that Wes went about the films. All of the Easter eggs, all the little subtle winks, all of the misdirection, all of that. The way that it was filmed, all of the directorial aspects of Scream. That is his legacy. Wes's legacy isn't tied to Sidney the character, or Dewey the character, or Gail the character. And I really feel a lot of people get that misconstrued. And I get these characters have evolved into Scream in a lot of ways. They are, in a lot of ways, the legacy of Scream. But at the same time, it's two different things. Scream, the franchise, our fandom, us, we're the ones that are continuing the legacy. And I don't want to see, you're not going to appease everybody. Somebody is going to see this film and be upset. That's just the way it works. It's the way films are. And so when it comes to that, I don't want to see these new producers try to mirror Wes so much so that the film falls flat, because they're trying to appease everybody and they're trying to recreate Wes Craven when you're not Wes Craven. You're not going to be able to recreate that. And it's just something I want to see. And you can uphold Wes's legacy and uphold the Scream legacy and still do what you need to do. Whether that's kill the OG3, let them live, however. It's just something that I want to stress and get across, because I feel a lot of people have this idea of Wes's legacy is tied to a character, and it's not. It's tied to Scream. Scream is Wes's legacy, just as much as it's Kevin Williamson. You know, and so that doesn't mean that the OG3 are going to die. It doesn't mean that I want them to die. It just means that we need to separate that in order to prepare ourselves for whatever is going to happen, because this isn't a Wes Craven film. This isn't the Scream that we knew it. This is an entirely new thing. And yes, it'll tie everything in together very well. It'll embrace what Scream is and embody the classics, but it is its own thing. So let's just keep that in mind as we start seeing all of the progress and all the information that comes out and the film itself. But As always, this is a discussion and I want to hear from you. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Are there any points that you'd like to make or add to? I'd really appreciate it. If you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. It helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Again, if you're not subscribed, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button, follow by the bell notification so you never miss an upload. Stay up to date with all things Scream. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.